If your blood type is O positive, there are few things about your blood that you should probably know. And no, I'm not going to tell you that people with O positive blood have a special personality. Neither am I going to tell you that they need a special diet or possess some mysterious hidden power. We are talking about actual biology, because your blood type can determine who can safely receive your blood, whose blood you can receive, and how common your blood is, and even surprisingly has associations with certain health risks. Now, one of those differences involve the way your blood clots. Another, it involves malaria. And there is even research connecting the ABO blood group system with the risk of certain diseases. But before you start thinking, wait, does having O positive mean I'm going to get one of these diseases? No, you're not going to get any of these diseases. And that distinction is extremely important. So if you have O positive blood, stay with me. And here are the things that you actually need to know about this particular blood group. And I'll begin by looking at what it actually means to have O positive blood group. And that is just beginning with the basics. When someone says, O positive, what actually do they mean? They're actually describing two different blood group systems. The O comes from the ABO blood group system, and then the positive comes primarily from another system that is known as the rhesus system, specifically whether your red blood cells carry the rhesus D antigen. And think of your red blood cells as tiny vehicles that are traveling through your bloodstream. On their surface, there are different molecular markers. People with blood type A have antigen A. People with blood group B have B antigens. And then people with AB, they have both antigens, antigen A and antigen B. And people with type O have neither A nor antigens B on their red blood cells. So if you are O positive, however, your cells do carry the RHD antigen, and that's where the positive comes from. So O positive isn't simply one characteristic. It is a combination of blood group O plus rhesus positive, and that becomes incredibly important when someone needs blood transfusion. Here's something cool about O positive blood. Your red blood cells can generally be given to people who are O positive, people who are A positive, people who are B positive, and those who are AB positive. And that makes O positive blood extremely useful in blood banks. And here is where people often get confused. You've probably heard this statement or this phrase, type O is the universal donor. You've heard about it, and that's incomplete. O negative red cells are generally considered the universal red cell donor, not O positive. Because O positive red cells carry the RHD antigen, they are generally used for rhesus positive recipients. And if you are O positive and need a red cell transfusion, you can generally receive O positive or O negative red cells. Actual transfusion decisions involve incompatibility testing and clinical protocols, so don't treat a social media compatibility chart as a substitute for blood bank testing. But that's the basic principle. Your ABO blood group doesn't only matter when you're donating blood. Scientists have discovered that it is associated with something else, and I would like to share more about that. That is blood clotting. People with blood group O, they tend to have lower levels of protein. And this type of protein, we call it von Willebrand factor, or VWF. Now, VWF plays an important role in helping your blood clot after injury. And studies suggest that healthy people with group O can have VWF levels roughly 25% lower than people with non-O blood groups. And this appears to have an interesting consequence. People with non-O blood types, that is A, B, and AB, they generally have a higher risk of venous blood clots than people with blood group O. So being O may offer a relative advantage when it comes to certain clotting events. But And this is important. That does not mean I'm O positive, therefore I can't get a blood clot. You absolutely can get a blood clot. Your age, your weight, smoking status, activity, medical conditions, medications, genetics, and many other factors can matter far more than your ABO group. Now, blood types changes probabilities. It doesn't determine your destiny when it comes to blood clotting. But here is another side to that story that I need you to have. If group O is associated with the lower levels of VWF factor or VWF, you might already be thinking, wait, if my blood is somewhat less prone to clotting, does that mean I'm more likely to bleed? That's where things get or become complicated. Some studies have found associations between group O and bleeding, but having O positive blood does not mean you have a bleeding disorder. In fact, researchers have also cautioned that the clinical significance isn't straightforward. So please don't see O positive on your blood group card and start worrying. For the overwhelming majority of people, this is simply part of normal human biological variation. Now, here's one I think many viewers, especially in malaria endemic parts of the world, will find fascinating. Researchers have repeatedly investigated the relationship between ABO blood type and severe malaria. Now, a systemic review and meta-analysis found that people with non-O blood groups had higher odds of developing severe Plasmodium falciparum malaria compared with people with group O. Now, one proposed explanation involved something called rosetting. In severe malaria, infected red cells can stick to uninfected red cells, and this ends up forming clusters. ABO antigens appear to influence this process. Group O red blood cells, they tend to form less stable rosettes than some non-O groups. Potentially, that provides some protection against severe disease, but notice exactly what I'm saying. Severe malaria. Not malaria infection altogether, but severe malaria. If you are O positive and an infected mosquito bites you, for example, your blood type is not an invisible mosquito net. It is not. You still need appropriate malaria prevention, testing, and treatment. Now, this next part requires some careful explanation because it's very easy to turn an association into a frightening headline, and I want you to pay attention. Researchers have found associations between ABO blood groups and certain cancers. For example, large studies have found that people with non-O blood types have somewhat higher rates of pancreatic cancer than people with blood group O. Also, research has found that higher rates of gastric cancer among some non-O groups, particularly blood group A, compared to those with O. Does that mean O positive blood prevents cancer? Absolutely not. Does it mean your doctor should look at your blood type and say, congratulations, you are safe? Does it mean that? Absolutely not. Now, these are population level associations. Your personal cancer risk is influenced by many other factors. It is influenced by your age, your genetics, infections, smoking, alcohol, diet, weight, environmental exposure, and family history. Your blood type is one tiny piece of an enormous puzzle. You have to get that clearly. And now we need to destroy one very popular myth. You've probably encountered the blood type diet. The idea is that people with O blood should eat one way, people with A, they should eat another way, and people with B should eat another way. It sounds scientific because it involves blood, but that's not the same thing as having good scientific evidence behind it. Your blood type alone doesn't tell me whether you should eat ugali, you should eat rice, meat, vegetables, dairy, or anything else. So please don't unnecessarily eliminate nutritious foods simply because someone online or somebody online told you that your type, your ancestors ate this way. Your nutritional needs are far more complicated than your ABO blood group. Please don't just buy any advice online and run with it. Another popular claim is that blood type determines personality. I've heard that time and again. And you'll hear things like, O positive people are natural leaders. Or you may hear another myth that they are confident, they are ambitious and outgoing. Well, that makes entertaining social media content, but that's not how personality works. Your personality develops through a complicated interaction between genetics, between your environment, your upbringing, your culture, and life experiences. ABO blood types is not a personality test. So unfortunately, O positive people, I cannot scientifically guarantee that you are all born CEOs. I cannot scientifically guarantee that. After everything we've discussed, here is perhaps the most important message that I would want you to carry. You don't need to live differently simply because you are O positive. You don't need a special diet. You don't need special supplements, and you don't need to become anxious about diseases associated with your blood group. Instead, focus on the things that have a much larger effect on your health. Know your blood pressure. Take time to take periodic measurements of your blood and your blood sugar as well, your cholesterol. Exercise regularly. It's recommended to do 150 minutes per week. Don't smoke. Eat a balanced diet and get enough sleep, at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep, and maintain a healthy weight as well. Frequently check your BMI and attend appropriate health screenings. Now, those factors are much more useful for managing your individual health than obsessing over your blood type. As I conclude this video, if you are O positive, here is what I want you to remember. Your red blood cells don't carry A or B antigens, but they do carry the Rhd antigen. Your blood can be extremely valuable for transfusion. Your ABO group is associated with lower von Willebrand factor levels and a lower average risk of certain blood clots compared with non-O groups. So group O has also been associated with some protection against severe falciparum malaria, and researchers have found interesting associations between ABO groups and several diseases. But none of these findings predicts what will happen to you, and that's perhaps the biggest lesson that I want you to carry. Your blood type influences some aspects of your biology. It does. It does not determine your future. It doesn't determine your future. Now, I want you to do something for me. I would like to request you to do something for me. Comment your blood type below in the comment section. Is it O positive or is it O negative? Just drop a comment in the comment section. Whichever blood type you have, is it A? Is it B? Is it AB? Drop a comment in the comment section. I'm going to look through the comments, and whichever blood type appears most often will be the next video in this series. See you in the next video.